Hello everybody and welcome back to Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson, and today I have another one of those update videos for you because I have had many of you viewers asking me to show you how my plant that I'm going to show you in a minute is doing. And well, I've had to wait. I've wanted to wait because I've wanted to wait to see if this plant will start blooming for me again. And it has. Now, this is a plant that a lot of people are saying is very difficult to keep alive indoors in the indoor environment. But I have this plant in both my homes, in my apartment and here where I am at our crystal cottage. Now, I'm going to bring the plant up so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So here it is. This is my beautiful Stephanotis floribunda. And this is otherwise known as Madagascar jasmine, even though it's not in the jasmine family. This plant has done very well for me in both my homes. I've just taken this one in and given it a little bit of a sprayer from the leaves because these plants do like to be misted on their leaves or showered over now and again, because it's a plant that does like a little bit more high humidity and perfect temperatures in your home, and it doesn't like to get too cold or too hot. It has to be just right in the Goldilocks zone. Anyway, I wanted to show you this plant right now, as I said, because it is flowering for me. This is 1 year after when I first got this plant, and I have a Raid in the Rack video all about this plant which you can see, and I also have a video where I go in and I repot and stake this plant up a long stake, and that plant I have in my apartment, and I just want to show you a video of that whole plant right now. Now that plant is in my indoor terrace garden where there isn't that much direct or indirect light coming from our windows there. So there's a lot of artificial light in the room, and then the window is northwest facing, so there's a little amount of light that penetrates into the room. And these plants do like bright indirect light for the best conditions for them to be able to flush out and keep their lovely dark green leaves and to produce flowers between May and November time, depending on the microenvironment of your home. So let's go and have a look at that plant because it's lovely and tall. It's about, I'd say it's a good 2 meters tall, and it was getting up to 3 meters tall, but I actually pruned it back at the top. It has gone through phases of thinning out, losing some leaves that have turned yellow and fell off. And that is due to the room not being quite bright enough to keep it perfectly happy. So that plant is surviving, but it's not perfectly happy. But you'll see in a moment when I show you the video of it, it's still got lovely green leaves like this, and it's growing and veining up. It's thinned out a little bit. It's not a big bushy plant, but it's still looking okay, I think, for a plant that's not in perfectly ideal conditions. And you will see that it still works, but it hasn't produced any flowers, and I'm not expecting that plant to produce any flowers because it's not getting enough bright indirect light to produce flowers. So I might have to try and see if I can squeeze it in somewhere else where it can get more light to be able to get flowers on it next year. But at the moment, I just don't have the space. So let's have a look at it as it is. So I really hope you enjoyed seeing my Stephanotis floribunda in my apartment indoor terrace garden and how it is looking. I think it's doing quite okay after 1 year in that kind of conditions with quite low light, artificial lights, and it has still been pumping out vines and new leaves and reorganizing itself, so it's doing okay. But this plant I have in front of me here, this is in my bathroom here at our Crystal Cottage, and I have it placed in our west facing window. So in the afternoon, this plant actually does get direct light, but we have tall trees out there. So there's direct light for a while and then there's filtered light, and this plant is absolutely loving it. Now, the general consensus is you do not put this plant in direct light behind glass, in a south-facing window, or any other window where it's going to get burning hot sun, because that is too much for the plant. It will be too harsh. It will burn out. It will burn the leaves and it will just suffer and die from it. But my conditions seem to be absolutely perfect for this plant because it really is flourishing. These leaves look perfect. Just look at these closer up. So remember, I've just sprayed it off, so that's why you can see the different colorations in it. But other than that, the leaves are absolutely gorgeous on this plant. So now, the moment you've all been waiting for, and the moment for why I've decided to make this video right now in September here in Sweden, when my plant is loving its conditions. So here we go, the moment of truth. Da, 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 da. And there they are, my beautiful Stephanotis floribunda flowers on this plant that I've had a whole year, and it's working out perfectly for me. This is one of the same plants that I bought at the same time as I bought all my other plants. And when you see my Raiding the Rack video, you will see that I got these plants on a real good bargain, and that's why I got me a few of them. So I placed the few together and put them in a pot so they could grow up a stake, and then I kept one as a statement piece to have here as well. I wanted it in both my homes, and both styles have just worked out fantastically the way they are. But look at this one, it's doing extra specially good because it's got flowers on it again this year. And it hasn't just got these few flowers here, you can see. It has little pods of flowers coming up all over the vine. I am so happy that this plant is loving it. Now, the room I'm in at the moment is our bathroom, as I said. So when we're in showering every day, think 2 people showering here every day when we're here, this plant is getting misted over with a humid environment in the room. And that is exactly what this plant loves as well. It likes a lot of bright indirect light, and if you have the right conditions, direct sunlight that isn't very harsh, a humid environment, spraying off its leaves, keeping the soil moist but not wet. The plant doesn't like to sit in water, otherwise it will yellow out and die. It likes to keep the soil moist. But I have actually been letting this plant dry out and the leaves droop. And when I see that, I know it's ready for a good watering again, and I water it with a liquid fertilizer, especially now with the flowers coming out. And that seems to be keeping this plant very happy. It's not getting overwatered. It's not getting underwatered. It's just getting the right amount, I think, to keep it beautiful like this. So let me take you in for a closer look so you can see these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful flowers. So look at those. I wonder if I can get even closer with the flower without it going fuzzy. There you go. I think that's about as close as I can get. There you go. Beautiful, beautiful trumpet flowers it has on it. If you look from the side, you can see how trumpet shaped they are. Absolutely wonderful flowers. And the flowers always have 5 petals on them. You can see how they come out in a little bobble, and then they grow out this trumpet, and then they have the 5 petals at the end. So of course, with the shape of these flowers and the length of them, it means that some insect or hummingbird or something like that with a longer tongue can get in and reach the nectar. And oh, wow. These flowers, whoo, I'm high now. These flowers have the strongest, beautiful scent. Oh, it's absolutely amazing. I just want to keep sniffing. I could just keep sniffing that now. I could just go on and on and on. They're just gorgeous. Oh, wow. This is also why this plant has become a popular house plant if you have the environment to keep it happy and perfect conditions to help the plant want to flower out again. Then you're going to get this beautiful, beautiful smell. God, that is so lovely, so fresh. So bathroom fresh, it's perfect for in the bathroom. So I just want to show you some of the other small flower head pods that are coming out, as I call them. So if you look under here, you can see there are at least 2 flower pods there. And then you can see the pod that's open with all the beautiful flowers already. And then around this side here, you can see another pod of flowers coming out there. And down here at the bottom, and there's one coming out there. And they are actually coming out all over the place. So this is a really, really happy, happy plant. So basically, you can do this. You can do this if you have a home that has a lower light condition. If the plant is getting enough light to sustain its leaves, you will have a green plant. If the plant gets the bright indirect light that it really loves and needs, then you will get the flowers too. Otherwise, you'll just have the green plant. If the light conditions are too low, the leaves will start yellowing out and they will fall off. And I have had that on my tall Stephanotis floribunda, as I said, in my apartment, leaves yellowing out and falling off and parts of the stem becoming quite bare. But it's flushed out new vines and new leaves because I moved it a little bit and it helped. And I'm thinking if I can reorganize it, I'm going to try and have it standing up in one of the windows in my indoor terrace garden. Or I might bring it here now to my bathroom and have it in the corner because I've just realized I was looking for a plant to have in here that was tall that I could have in a corner, and that is the perfect plant. It's just come to me right now. So I'm actually going to have both my plants here at Crystal Cottage because this is working out, and why not? This room is very bright, it's white, and as I said, I have a west-facing window, so there's a lot of bright light that comes into this room. We shower in the bathroom, so there's humidity in the air a couple of times a day. There's a shower of humidity. These plants love that. And well, if I want to get more of these flowers, I'm going to have to move my other Stephanotis floribunda. But there is a thing about that. These plants do not like to be moved when they found a position that is perfect for them. They can get very upset and droop, or their leaves can turn yellow and fade away. So be careful about moving your plant around too much. This plant, I actually had it in my bedroom in the same west-facing window. So it was getting the same light and conditions up there, apart from the humidity when we shower. And that is where it started flowering. But then I moved my plants around and I decided to put this in my bathroom. And now I realize that this is absolutely perfect for this plant because it's getting that extra humidity shower as well as the light and everything else. And it's getting so many more flower buds on it. So of course, when this plant flowers out even more, I will be putting lovely pictures on my Instagram, Gardens and Crystals on Instagram. And you'll get to see how beautiful the whole ring looks when there are a lot more flower heads coming out. Another thing about when your plant is flowering out like this, when they start browning out and when they start withering away, you can go ahead and deadhead those flowers because then you will encourage the plant to start producing more flower head pods, as I call them, and it will flush out more flowers for you for an extra week or two. So that is a great thing to get in and do. Just as soon as they start browning out and not looking so good again, pluck those out and then you'll encourage all the other ones to open out. I don't really know what else I have to say about this absolutely beautiful plant. I love the leaves. They're thin, they're gorgeous. These plants can get mealybugs and other types of leaf bugs on them due to having thin leaves. So that is another good reason for going in and washing this plant over or showering it over like I've just done with this one. But these plants that I have not had any bugs on them so far, so I'm really happy about that. This plant is on its own, not next to other plants. My other plant is next to other plants, but it's still not got anything on it. So I'm very happy about that. And now I know that I'm going to be moving it here. Oh, I'm looking forward to next year. I hope that whole stake full of this plant is going to flower out for me. And then my bathroom's just going to smell gorgeous, right? This plant likes to stay moist, so a good potting mix for this plant. You don't have to worry about a load of perlite and things like that in the soil. A good potting mix that you can soak through and then let the plant get near enough dry and then water it again. And as I said, my plant has been drying out in between and the leaves drooping a little bit, and then I've been going in and giving it a good watering again, and it seems to be doing the job for it. Just don't let this plant stay dry for too long, because that will damage the roots and it will die. And don't let it sit in water, because that will also damage the roots, root rot, and it will die. So we've spoken about everything you need to do to get your plant to flower out like this. I mean, I am not an expert on this plant. I have just been doing my thing. I have it in my bathroom. I've just sprayed it off. I've been watering it. I haven't changed it. I haven't taken it out of its nursery pot that it came in. So I haven't disturbed its roots. And I think that's another thing that's making this plant happy. But if I check the roots next spring and see that it's root bound, then I'll know that I need to bump it up to the next size pot. But if not, I don't need to change anything and disturb the plant until I absolutely need to, because if I do that and disturb the roots, this is a very sensitive plant, it will probably become very unhappy and it probably won't flower for me next year. So I really want to keep it as happy as possible. And look at this. This is another one of those plants that I have in a ring, and I can get my face just about in the middle of this. And it's just so cute. So if you have one of these plants, I hope this video was helpful with some tips and tricks on how to keep this plant happy. And I really hope that all of you that have asked me for updates on these plants are happy that I've finally got round to showing you how they're doing, and my happiness with the fact that they are doing really well for me shows that you can go out and get yourself one of these plants and you can get them to flower, and it will work. They're not just going to flower that one time you buy them if you give them the best kind of conditions you can in your environment. I think another thing that I forgot to mention about this plant is that it does actually like to be a little bit colder for the winter months, because it does like to have a dormant period. So around about 13 degrees Celsius, we use Celsius in Sweden, is a perfect temperature for this plant. And in fact, in my bathroom here at our cottage, we don't have a radiator. We have heat from the floor, which is not on all the time. So this one room doesn't have a radiator where this plant is above a radiator where it's going to get dried out because of that. We have heat coming from the rest of our cottage, and the door is open, and the plant is not going to freeze or anything, because we also don't want to freeze in our bathroom, right? So the temperature is perfect for this plant, a little bit lower, and during the summer months it loves warm temperatures, and you can place it out in your garden for a period if you have warmer temperatures, but don't let this plant get below 13 degrees Celsius, and never in any kind of frost, because you're going to lose the whole thing straight away. It is much more of a house plant in a European environment. Remember, it comes from a hot country, it comes from Madagascar, so it's not going to survive cold temperatures and winter months at all here. Well, I think I really have said enough about this plant now. If there's anything I've forgotten, please write comments below. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write them below, and I will help out as much as I can with my experience with my plant. Remember, I'm an amateur. I'm not someone who knows all the ins and outs of these plants, but I am just showing you what I do and showing you that my plant is very happy. And also, as I showed you in the video from my apartment, my other Stephanotis floribunda is also doing very well in a less desirable condition. So they are, even though known as tender plants and sensitive, able to take slight deviations from their perfect environment. But just remember, you're not going to have the best quality plant if you do that, and your plant will definitely not flower for you. So all I have to say now is thank you very much once again for watching Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be uploaded. And I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.